With this video, we're changing topics and beginning to look at a new area, namely relapses. This term refers to times of intensified symptoms, sometimes called flares or setbacks. Relapses are a frequent and often demoralizing part of CFS and fibro. In this and the next two videos, we're going to look at how to reduce their impact and even to prevent them. This video deals with limiting their severity. We'll talk about 6 things that you can do to limit the length and depth of a relapse, and also I'll mention some ideas from the prominent CFS fibro physician and our medical advisor, Dr. Charles Lapp. The first and maybe most obvious strategy is to take more rest. So let me write that down for you. Take extra rest. Your body is focused on trying to get better while you're in a relapse, and you can help it by adjusting your schedule so that you have more rest time. Some people in our program use a little catchphrase to remind them of the need for extra rest. They say, if all else fails, go to bed. I think that's a good way to give yourself permission to take the rest that your body needs. Extra rest has another meaning in the context of relapses, namely to take extra rest not only during, but even after it seems that the relapse is over. If you give yourself an extra 2 or 3 days to return to your regular routine after the relapse seems to be over, you may be able to avoid a double dip. The second strategy is a combination of 3 things. We call it postpone, delegate, and eliminate. Postpone, delegate, and eliminate. I'll put that in bold, just like the other one. Postpone means to defer doing something. In this context, it's a way to acknowledge that you have extra limits, and so some things may have to go on the back burner for a while. Delegate means finding someone else to do something that you would normally do. And eliminate means dropping something entirely, saying, well, I just won't be able to do that. This strategy has 2 purposes. The first is to limit your activity, obviously, and the second is to reduce the stress you may be experiencing if you feel compelled to do more than your body can handle at that point. This idea dovetails nicely with point 3, which is postpone, positive self-talk, positive self-talk. It's easy to get discouraged when you have a relapse, and when you're discouraged, you may say things to yourself that make you feel even more discouraged. Things like, I'll never get over this, or what if I'm stuck permanently at this level? Being able to speak positively and truthfully to yourself is a way to reduce stress, and reducing your stress should help you to reduce your symptoms by motivating you to do the things that are likely to help, as well as having a positive effect on your mood. People often say things like, you bounce back from all your other relapses, so chances are good that you'll bounce back this time. The fourth strategy is to stay connected. Connected. It's easy to get isolated during a relapse, and you can counteract that by staying in touch with people via phone calls, emails, and maybe in person. There are several reasons for doing this. Just feeling connected with another person can be reassuring. By talking to others, you can distract yourself from your problems. And third, you may be able to hear some ideas about how to deal with the relapse. Fifth is preparation. So the 5th strategy is prepare. Let me make that the same size as the other ones. There we are. Having things in place ahead of time can help reduce the anxiety of a crash and make it easier to weather. The number one way that people have mentioned to us is by having food around the house, canned or frozen goods that they can heat up or their families can prepare. Some people have also mentioned arranging things in their bedroom. The 6th strategy is responding to warning signs. So I'll put that down oops, as heed warning signs. Having trouble getting this in the same font. There we go. Heeding warning signs is a way to reduce the severity or even avoid a relapse. Warning signs are things like feeling especially weak or tired or confused or experiencing intense pain. Responses might include stopping what you're doing or lying down. Let me give you a personal example. There was a time when I was cooking some chili and was nearly finished but suddenly felt very weak and almost faint. My first response was to tell myself to push through and finish. But then I remembered that when I had done that in similar situations in the past, I ended up having to lie down for 2 or 3 hours after I finished whatever task I was on. So I told myself to turn off the heat under the chili and lie down for 15 minutes. I did, and when I got up, I felt fine. And I finished cooking the chili and then got on with my day. So resting for 15 minutes saved me from spending 2 or 3 hours in bed. Lastly, I'd like to pass on some tips from Dr. Lapp, the director of the Hunter Hopkins Center in Charlotte, a clinic that specializes in treating CFS and fibro. Dr. Lapp's tips. He tells his patients to remember 3 things if they experience a relapse that lasts longer than usual. The first is to be especially attentive to getting good sleep. Sleep can deteriorate during a relapse, and the body often requires more sleep than usual during a relapse. Second, what may appear as a lengthy CFS or fibro relapse may be caused by a new medical problem. So ask yourself, am I experiencing a new medical problem, something in addition to the problems I already knew about? Third, medications can lengthen a relapse either because a person is not consistent about taking their medications or because of drug interactions. So ask yourself whether medications might be a problem. So there are 7 ways to reduce the impact of relapses. In the next several videos, we'll talk about identifying relapse triggers and preventing relapses, and also give you some relapse success stories.